Good morning, everyone. It's Tess, and today is tip 159. And I know I mentioned yesterday when I was talking about the stages of change, which is the trans theoretical model. It had like 5 steps of change. Number 1 being pre-contemplation, which kind of basically means you haven't even identified a change yet. Contemplation, which they say is a task of about 6 months. Preparation, where they say within 30 days you're going to make a change. Action, which is where you start making changes. Good morning, whoever that is. I'm not sure yet. And then number 5 is maintenance. What are you going to do how do you maintain and make permanent? Well, good morning, Glenn. How do you make permanent changes? So I decided to do a little more digging into the permanent part, or how we make maintenance permanent. Because I think that's where we all struggle. I've been very, very good at pre-contemplation and contemplation. I'll sit on the fence analyzing, overanalyzing, and not taking steps. And I've spent a lot of my life doing that. So I'm trying to find the tools to just keep moving forward. And I found an article, Harvard Health. We all know I love Harvard Health. And the article was called, I didn't write down the article name, but Harvard Health kind of gave some tips on how to keep the change, keep yourself in the game of making the change. And the first thing it kind of said is every effort, no matter how small, is important. Any step, you've just got to keep that forward momentum, because the second you stop making steps is the second you're out of the game. The next thing it talked about is crushing negatives. And I'm going to say that was probably number 1 for me in the past year, as I had to overcome self-doubt and self-worth issues. And I think that's critical for all of us, because if we don't get to a place where we believe in ourselves, we won't put the effort and energy into improving. Well, hi, Catherine. Good to see you. So I think it's really important in this change journey. The permanence part of it is Harvard Health says, make sure oh, hi, Dolly. Make sure every effort counts, and then crush that negative stuff. That was a really, really big one for me. You've got to overcome those negative self-thoughts, those negative self-worth, those guilt, those fear, those regrets. Everything is learning. If you can try to take failures and doubts and fear and guilt and just make them opportunities to learn and get those words out of your vocabulary, it will help so much. It does talk about lifelong change is rooted in positive self-thinking and positive self-talk. So I think that's critical for us all to remember. And even Doc V talks about that. Tony Robbins talks about that. All the self-help people talk about how we've got to get out of those negative self-talks. We've got to get out of that, oh, I'm not going to get to eat this anymore. I'm not going to get to do that. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, I can't fit this in. Oh, I can't give this up because so-and-so likes it. Oh, we go so often to that, oh, I can't, oh, I don't, oh, I'm not. We don't enough say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep pushing forward no matter what obstacle comes in my way. So that, I even bolded that in my notes. Lifelong change is rooted in positive thinking and positive self-talk. And interestingly, they told in this article that they had 129 studies supporting that positive self-talk and positive thoughts are what are going to drive you to the finish line. The failures are the ones that get caught up in fear, regret, guilt. So we got to wipe those out. They got to be gone. That's why I do a lot with positive self-thought and law of attraction, is trying to remove, like Doc V says, these fat filters that are negative self-talk, wipe them out, wipe that crazy monkey off my shoulder and fill the positive stuff in. So that's why I do a lot with that, because I do know that's probably my biggest obstacle. The next thing they kind of said for that permanence, trying to find that permanence, and again, this was something I had to adjust, limit the number of goals you're actively working on, because if you overtax the process, you're going to get overwhelmed, you're going to lose your focus and attention, and you're going to lose your willpower. So always make it manageable steps. And I'll go back to that article I mentioned a couple weeks ago where there's a health coach who during COVID stopped running. And she actually got to a point where it was so hard for her to do it again, she finally took it in 1 minute increments. All she had to do once a day was to run for 1 minute. And she made herself stick to just a 1 minute commitment for 2 weeks before she increased it to like 2 minutes. And then she had to go for a week before she increased it to 3, because she recognized that she had other things to overcome and she wanted to make it manageable so she didn't give up. So I think that's critical. Limit the number so that you know that you can win. We want to set ourselves up to win so we feel good and our self-worth is right up there. It does also talk about keeping tips for quelling urges. And we know like some people use gum and water, having water handy and downing. Well, hi, Lori, good to see you. Downing water, like if you think you're hungry, down some water and you might find you were just thirsty. So they talked about gum, water. Deep breathing can sometimes slow you down so that you can focus and get your self-worth and self-confidence strong. Build a puzzle, journal, read a book, anything that might distract you from letting an urge overtake, because that's hard and that's something that we all struggle with. It says preventing relapse and avoiding, in order to prevent relapse and fall out of the maintenance stage. And they do say it probably, you're not going to be solidly in a maintenance stage until you've completed 6 months. But they said even during that time and even past that, things to kind of remember is if you can avoid trigger situations, that might be best. You know, in the old days, I don't know what it's like now, but in the old days when I used to bowl, if you were a smoker going to a bowling alley, probably wouldn't have been advisable because there was so much smoke that you'd have to air your clothes out after you left. The one thing they kind of mentioned I thought was really interesting is they referred to maintenance as the relapse and recycle, which is common. And it kind of made me think of those kids' toys that are flat wood and they have wire with beads on it and you got to flip the beads through the wire. It kind of made me think of that. But they said in order for that permanent change, we're going to kind of be that little toy. So we're going to flip around, we're going to go back, we're going to be a roller coaster. We're going to go forward, we're going to have a little fall back, we're going to keep going forward. Every time we fall back, we just got to keep that momentum moving forward because we can do it and we will do it, so we never give up. Doc V's given us 1 million videos to listen to. All you have to do is ask Suri and she'll give you just about anything you want. You've got books, you've got friends here in the group. We've always got somebody to reach out to. So I guess really I thought that was kind of, I loved that analogy as they kind of referred to it as a coil, and it made me think of that toy that you coil back and forth. It might be a little bit of a loop, but maybe just enjoy the ride. Say, oh, yeah, okay, so you know what? The roller coaster threw me back a little bit. I don't care. I'm going to swing forward. So I'll refresh what the trans-theoretical model of change was from yesterday, which was the 5-stage thing where pre-contemplation is before you've even decided to change. Contemplation is where you're 6 months away from change. And this is where I said I want to narrow it down because I don't want to spend 6 months thinking about it. Preparation is when you spend that 30 days. And I'm thinking at the time that you start preparing, you just make slinky syndrome. Yeah, but we just got to keep moving. But preparation is, they say we're within 30 days of making a change. And as soon as I think we get to that point, it's even like Tony Robbins says, don't leave the site of making the decision to change without taking some action. Even if it's simply looking up a phone number to call or looking up a website, don't leave the place of change without taking some small action, because that kind of cements it for you. The action part, and they say that action part and that coiling back and forth, you're going to do that for 6 months. Find the areas where you might struggle so that you can put tools into play. Because we all know we're going to recycle and relapse. But if we know that that's normal and we keep our self-worth and our self-talk and our self-confidence strong, we can push forward faster and not let the relapses derail us completely. I thought this was interesting. I'm going to keep looking into this because I do know for me, it is the mind part of it that's always been my little trigger, because it's that little bug that's hidden inside that I don't know is there that I have to overcome. So I hope you guys find this helpful. I keep looking for things just because for me, these lives, and thank you, Dr. B, for making me do them way long ago. He doesn't force me now. He hasn't even reminded me to do them lately, but this is a reminder to me, and it makes me sit down and spend some time every day to go, hey, what is it I can do to try to cement this so it can be forever? I'm just weeks away from 5 years out, 160 pounds down, and it could have looked so different if I hadn't have found Doc V when COVID started. I'll always be grateful for the changes and for everybody that's helped me along this journey. So remember, it might be, if you're struggling a little bit, you're relapsing and recycling, look at it as a roller coaster and shoot forward and make it the best ride you've ever had. I hope you guys have a beautiful Sunday. Slingshot forward and make it count today. You're worth it. We're all worth it. Have a beautiful day.